Michael Jackson's family is challenging allegations of sexual abuse against the late pop icon in a new HBO documentary. The movie that premieres this weekend shares the stories of Wade Robson and James Safechuck, who claim Jackson abused them when they were young children. Jackson has faced similar allegations in the past. He settled a 1993 case and was acquitted in a 2005 criminal trial. Throughout it all, Michael Jackson denied any abuse, but continued to surround himself with young children, even inviting them into his bed. We asked his family about that behavior when they spoke to us first on CBS This Morning about the documentary.
I heard in the movie that there were actually things that were called love letters.
Michael Jackson's nephew Taj says he's a survivor of sexual abuse by a relative on his mother's side. He shared notes of encouragement that he got from his uncle when he was a child, similar to ones Safechuck and Robson say they received.
My uncle gave letters like that all the time to people that he cared about. And there's nothing salacious about it when you actually know there's a lot of people. He even did it to fans.
Taj Jackson says he spent much of his childhood at his uncle's Neverland ranch and took part in many of the famed slumber parties with children there. It has been well documented. Your brother spoke many times about sharing his bed with young children. Did any of you at any time speak to him about that?
Well, when you phrase that, you know, sharing his bed, young kids have sleep up, camp out, and just, you know, everybody just lay in the bed and fall asleep. His kids were there. Taj and were little at the time, and they all fall asleep in the bed and watching movies. And so you can twist it saying sharing his bed, but yes, but it makes you think something else.
Did it not seem odd to you, though, that your brother would share a bed or have slumber parties with young children?
He was there.
Yeah, I grew up in it, so for me it wasn't odd.
It wasn't odd.
I think to the outside world, yes, I think it can be odd. I mean, I'm not oblivious to what it sounds like, but when you're actually there in that atmosphere and you're around it and you're watching movies.
With his kids, too.
Yes, with his kids. It's very innocent, but I think the fault of my uncle was he didn't have that bone in his body to look at it the other way. His naivety was his downfall. That's what hurts me more than anything, is knowing his innocence, but then knowing how the world is.
In early 1994, Jackson settled a civil suit with the family of Jordan Chandler, a boy who had accused a pop star of sexually abusing him. Despite paying over $22 million in that settlement, Jackson continued to surround himself with young children. There are interviews with Michael where he has said, "Sure, people spent time in my bed. It was loving. It was a fun time. It was pure. And anyone who thinks anything other than that just has a dirty mind."
That's right.
That said, from the outside world looking in, it is very odd. You all don't think that it's odd that he would spend time?
No, let me say something. When we grew up coming up, traveling on the road, we was older. But Marlon and Michael was much younger. They never had a regular childhood life. Michael always had been a kid at heart, always. He loved Disneyland, he loved those, so he tried to create that world himself. He loved that world. He loved making kids happy. His whole life was to make the whole world come together peacefully. That's what it's all about, especially children. He loved that.
I mean, I think just knowing my uncle and spending thousands and thousands of hours with him, he would always ask us questions like, what was this like? What was it like going to a birthday party, you know?
Because he didn't have that?
He didn't have that. He lived vicariously through me and my brothers and you know, his nephews.
None of you at any time said, you know, Michael, this doesn't look good. I know your intentions are pure, but this doesn't look good. None of you at any time said that to him?
I did.
You did?
I did. I asked him, I said, maybe you should just hang around family. And he said, well, then I'm not doing God's work. Then I'm not helping people. I'm not. My uncle always liked to help people. That was my uncle's purpose. That's what he felt he was doing. And he felt he connected with kids because that was his childhood.
As you sit here today, are you worried about what this documentary will do to his legacy?
No, not at all.
But it does seem to be a day of reckoning for many of our iconic figures.
And we don't want to get in the way of that, but you have to shine the light brightly on both sides.
Yeah, I think, you know, you'll have to watch the documentary and decide for yourself. I think the Jacksons clearly support their brother, and when people say it's all about money, they said they don't get any money from the Jackson estate. They wanted to make that very clear. The people that get the money are Michael Jackson's 3 children. And, you know, Wade and James, when we hear, you know, he didn't have a childhood, he was very childlike, I think when you hear the documentary, you may rethink, what does that really mean? Raises a lot of very interesting questions.